What's up, guys? How are you doing? I hope everything is fine wherever you are. My name is Pepe Cuenca. I'm a Spanish Grandmaster, and I say hello from St. Louis in the States, in Missouri, where we are covering the Champions Showdown, an amazing tournament that is taking place here, where a lot of big fishes are playing. We got the amazing news that Kasparov is playing in a match versus Topalov, and there are a lot of big matches where a lot of big names are playing, and we have to say that this is a Chess960 tournament or Fischer random system, where actually there is a lottery to see how the pieces in the last rank are placed. And of course, today, what am I doing here today? Well, I wanted to sum up one of the best games in the tournament so far, and this happened between Vachier-Lagrave, the superstar from France, and Samuel Shankland. All you guys know that Samuel is already in the 2700 club and one of the big names in the States. And fasten your seatbelts, because there is a lot of action going on in this game, and I hope you guys enjoy this game full of sacrifices and tactics. Well, so first of all, when we are playing this kind of chess, we have to see how our pieces are placed in the back rank, right? So in this case, we see that we got the bishop on d8, the bishop on c8, our king is on f8. Well, normally it's good to control the center and to give to open some diagonals for our bishops, right? So that's why Shankland played d4. So this move actually controls the center, and now the bishop on c1 has some freedom, right? d5 was played by Vachier-Lagrave, and c3. This move is already attacking something, since the h7 pawn is hanging because of the queen on b1, so that's why knight g6 was played, so developing a piece and defending h7. Here bishop c2 was played, putting more pressure in this diagonal and also preparing for e4 in some of the lines. And at this point, Vachier-Lagrave played c6, pushing the Carlitos pawn and also putting an eye on the h2 pawn, right? Now we don't want to miss that pawn, and then white played knight to g3 and short castle. As you guys know, in this variety of classic chess, the castling is like in classic chess, some sort of, right? Because the end position of the king is on g8 always, and in the long castling on c8. So let's say, like, imagine these two bishops were not in the board, right? So if you want to go long castling, then this king would go to c8 and the rook would go to d8. So short castle was played, and now h4, a really aggressive move by Shankland. Now since h7 is hanging, right, because we got the queen on b1 and the bishop on c2, h4 is really interesting, since knight takes h4 runs into bishop takes h7 with troubles for black. So that's why f5 was played by Vachier-Lagrave, and some of you could think, well, can I take the f5 pawn? Well, it's extremely dangerous to take the pawn on f5, right? Since if you take this pawn on f5, there are many interesting moves. For example, queen h2 is very, very interesting, but also e5, and all the pieces are looking into this guy on f1, right? We got the queen on b8, the rook on f8, the rook on e8, and then all the bishops also targeting h4. The bishop on c8 is also extremely well placed. So this is extremely dangerous for white, right? So that's why Shankland didn't take on f5, but instead played h5, attacking this knight. Some of you could think that the only square available for this knight is h8, which looks extremely sad for the black player, right? Nobody wants to retreat a knight to h8 right on the corner. It's extremely sad over there. And also, knight h4 could run into some bishop g5 ideas at some point, right? So that's why there are not so many squares, and Vachier-Lagrave decided to attack the knight on g3 as well. So now you could think, oh, I can take on g6 and then on h7. This is a pawn up. Well, but this is extremely dangerous. If you take on g6, f takes g3, g takes h7, king h8, and f3. And even though white's pawn up, it's actually the position is actually extremely dangerous for white, since now after e5, all of your pieces are extremely well placed. The king is almost naked on f1, and my king on h8 is extremely safe, right? So that's why after h5, f4, Shankland didn't take on g6, but instead he played knight to f5. And again, Black answered by playing e6, same kind of idea. After h takes g6, we just take on f5 with a good position, and now Shankland sees that he can win a pawn by taking on g7, king takes e7, and h takes g6. Again, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave plays extremely dynamically by playing e5 in this position. What's the idea of e5? Well, if white takes on h7, you could play e4, and now white is suffering from lack of space. As you can see, this king is extremely safe on h8, and now these pawns are making a fantastic job, avoiding this guy to do any kind of job against a black king. And also look at these bishops, look at these rooks, and black is fantastic in this position. So that's why after e5, Shankland played d takes e5, and now h6, closing the h file, and knight b3 was played by Shankland. Well, the knights on a8 and a1, they are doing nothing basically, and Vachier took on e5, and now bishop d2. Well, looking what happened in the game, maybe bishop d2 is a mistake. Now we're gonna try to explain why. Okay, the position is far from 3. Well, black's plan is maybe to bring this knight to the action, knight bc, knight c4, and then try to create some tricks by playing knight e3, as happened in the game. So maybe rook h1, knight b6, and knight d4 was a better version for white. You always can go to g1, you want to run from there, and after knight c4, you're going to always play knight f3. The thing is, after bishop d2, now knight b6 is a fantastic move by Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, because now knight c4 will come with a tempo, with an extra tempo, right? Because now knight d4 and knight f3 is actually not possible, and Shankland played queen to d1 and knight c4, targeting b2, but most importantly, threatening to go knight to e3. Knight d4 was played, knight e3 check, only move, bishop takes, f takes, and now you could think that you could play maybe f3, but this runs into queen g3, boom! Now the mate on f2 is actually impossible to stop, right? Not even Carlsen will stop that, right? So that's why after f takes e3, Shankland played knight to f3. And maybe he was thinking that after the queen moves, I'm just gonna take on e3 with my pawn, or even some queen d4 ideas, and looks like white is more or less solid because the knight on f3 is doing a fantastic job. But the thing is, he probably didn't see, he probably missed the fantastic idea that Maxime Vachier-Lagrave showed in this position. Sorry for my pronunciation of Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, it's such a difficult name for a Spanish guy. But instead of moving the queen, he just took on f2, sacrificing the queen. Sorry, he went knight f3, he takes f2, fantastic move, and then after knight takes e5, well, some of you would be asking now, Pepe, what's the idea? I don't see the point. After f takes e1 or f takes e1, black is just much better. It won't material, yeah? Okay, one has to say that after king f2, queen e3, followed by bishop b6, just wins on the spot, right? Because you can never go queen d4, and you're gonna checkmate on f2. And the point is, after knight takes e5, you don't take any of the rooks, but instead Maxime played bishop h4, a fantastic move that threatens checkmate in one move on e1, right? Well, the only move here you could think that is working is knight f7 or something like this, but then it just runs into a favorable endgame for black after taking on e1. You're just an exchange up, right? So white played g3, and now Vachier played bishop h3, rook g2, and bishop g3, and white had to resign, since now f takes e1 is checkmate, and it's impossible to stop. What a fantastic game by Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, beating in a few moves, in 19 moves, Shankland with a queen sacrifice. This is the good thing about Chess960, that since even the best players of the world, they don't know theory, so we see a lot of aggressive games and a lot of tactics going on from the beginning, and players have to focus since the very beginning, since there is no open theory, right? So I like this kind of games, I like mistakes, and I hope you guys watch all the show. You can follow us in Spanish in Chess24. You can also watch the English commentary by Sarah One, by Maurice Ashley, etc., etc. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game, and I say hello or bye from San Luis. Bye bye, be good, and if you drink, don't drive. Bye bye.